Now on just one station, a teen's health taking a turn for the worse, leaving her on life support, and her relatives trying to honor her wishes.
When God decided to take her, then he will take her. She's breathing, she's alive.
Tonight, a South Florida family's fight for life.
All right, just by watching the intro, I can already tell that the issue is that there's some sort of disagreement between the family and the hospital regarding end-of-life care. And that is actually quite common for medical ethics cases.
And 7's Raj Lowe is live at the hospital in Hollywood with this exclusive. Raj?
And even at this late hour, the family of this 19-year-old woman and their attorneys in negotiations with the hospital. So there really is a spirit of cooperation. These cases are always very complex and emotional, but tonight the story of this 19-year-old who was once so full of life, now on life support.
Our way to believe as a Jew is everything goes through the heart. As long as the heart beats, the soul is in the heart, and therefore she is alive.
Outside Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, Aviva Svat embraces her husband Reuven. Inside the hospital is their 19-year-old daughter Danielle. 14 months ago, Danielle, who grew up in Coral Springs, was diagnosed with a brain tumor. On November 25th, she was admitted to the hospital. On January 1st, her condition worsened. She was placed on life support.
I just want her to live. When God decided to take her, then he will take her. She's breathing, she's alive.
Okay, so from what I've heard, it sounds like that there's some sort of disagreement over if the patient is still alive. And I think that's why the mom said that, according to our Jewish tradition and beliefs, if the heart is still beating, that the patient is still alive. So maybe it's a disagreement over that.
She's up there, alive, breathing. Take care of my daughter, please. Give her life. Don't cut her off any medication, any support. Please.
Danielle and her family are Orthodox Jews. Their belief prohibits pulling the plug once life-sustaining devices are in place.
Okay, yeah, so the disagreement is over whether or not to keep the patient connected to life support, right? The family is in favor of it, and the hospital, it sounds like, is against it.
The family's attorneys have filed an emergency motion in court. In that motion, it reads in part, quote, "On January 3rd, 2013, the physicians at the hospital have indicated that they would be removing all medical systems which support her life," end quote.
There's no analogy that's safe when you're talking about life. Life is the highest, and it's our duty to move mountains, in fact, to give our own lives to save a life.
And the doctors in this hospital specifically asked her whether she wanted to fight and continue her fight to live. She blinked once for yes.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm not sure her medical condition, so I don't know how ill she is. And the reason why I say that is because it's unclear to me what that blink meant, right? Did she understand the questions that were posed to her? Was that actually a response to those questions? I'm not sure. I'm a little skeptical that a patient in that condition can communicate their wishes. But, that's just me. I would have to know more information.
Late Wednesday, the hospital releasing this statement, reading in part, quote, "Our hearts and compassion are with the family in this difficult time. Due to patient confidentiality, we are unable to discuss the medical aspects of this case, except to say that it was not the hospital's intention to remove life support."
Okay, so now I'm a little confused. The hospital is saying that their intention was not to remove life support. That tells me that there was some sort of miscommunication.
As an institution that values deeper caring, we do our utmost to respect religious and cultural beliefs.
If I can take her place, I'll do it. I'll switch her place. I'm older. I did enough for me. She can have my time.
Just 15 months ago, Danielle was a healthy teenager on her way to college in New York.
On a November morning, she woke up with numbness on one side of her body, and her life has obviously been changed. But this family is full of faith that there will be a resolution. We'll keep you posted. We're live in Hollywood tonight. Rosh Lowe, 7 News.
Okay. So some final thoughts. There had to have been some miscommunication between the family and the hospital for it to have escalated to this point. Maybe what the hospital was trying to say is that they're not going to escalate care given the patient's condition, rather than removing life support. Maybe the family understood that to mean that the hospital wasn't going to continue keeping the patient alive. Maybe that's where the miscommunication was. The other thing I want to clarify is that depending on where you live, the hospital may not be able to unilaterally withdraw life support, right? So what that means is that depending on where you live, the hospital may need appropriate consent from the surrogate in order to remove life support. So for those particular states, if the surrogate did not consent to it, then the hospital will have to keep the patient on life support. One of the tough things about cases like this is that oftentimes families will want to continue life support because they have hope, right? And sometimes because they're religious, they're hoping for a miracle. All right, I think I'm going to end it here. I hope you learned something interesting, and I'll see you next time.